Good morning, good morning. We are in the tarot study of the Lovers. Here's the original Rider Waite, Wandering Star, Golden Art Nouveau, and the Tarot of the Divine, Winter Tarot, Tarot of the Abyss, Lightseers Tarot, Wildwood Tarot, Star Tarot, the what's it called? Mystical Moments Tarot, and the Good Tarot. Okay, and then so today then we are reading from Tarot as a Way of Life by Karen Hamaker Zondag. You can see that, hopefully. Get that nice and clear for you. Oops, let me grab that. There you go. All right. And then this is what the inside looks like. Okay, here we go. Okay. The Lovers, card 6. The inescapable confrontation with everything that is different from ourselves compels us to make choices in everyday life. The urge to make choices that unite opposites and relieve I don't know why that word all of a sudden is same as believe, but it's relieve. Why sometimes some words show up that you've seen a million times that all of a sudden they're like, we're a foreign word now. Relieve tensions is embodied in the okay, let me just start that sentence over again. The urge to make choices that unite opposites and relieve tensions is embodied in the Lovers. See how easy that is? I don't know my brain. What we do not realize at first is that all those things involving our emotions in the outside world have to do with factors in our unconscious, regardless of whether or the latter are connected with repressions or with hidden gifts and talents. We can place people on a pedestal when they exhibit qualities that lie dormant in us in some form. And we are annoyed by those who show traits that we have repressed in ourselves. Isn't that I feel like we need to read that again just because isn't that like a truth teller, right? Where are we? We can place people on a pedestal when they exhibit qualities that lie dormant in us in some form. I like that thinking that way though too. Like if there's somebody that's like to us, that maybe that means that we have that in us somewhere. That's awesome to think about, right? And then we are annoyed by those who show traits that we have repressed in ourselves, but have not encouraged or do not want to know. It is a recognized fact in the Jungian psychology that the more emotionally you react to things you see or experience, the bigger the complex in you that is being mirrored in these external circumstances. Thus, if you have taken a great dislike to someone, the individual is, so to speak, a symbol of an unconscious part of yourself that you can come to know by projecting it on him or her. Very interesting. It is this mechanism that makes its entrance in the card of the Lovers. We take the first step outside and come into relationship with people and things in the world. The Lovers card represents the desire to enter this relationship in a genuine way, and that often has nothing to do with any love affair. What is significant here is involvement with the other, with that which can find outside ourselves. In our encounter with the other, we have confrontations that force us to make choices. What we need to learn is that in a deeper sense, these choices and confrontations have to do with ourselves and with what is our unconscious. By clearly perceiving and comprehending this, we can find our inner other half, conscious and unconscious can have a mutual understanding and cooperation, and this process can assist in the growth of the personality. However, in the phase of the lovers, we are still not entirely aware of this. This phase symbolizes the beginning of the process by which we gain self-knowledge through mirroring in the outside world and through uniting inwardly with that unknown other side of ourselves. We learn this by striking up relationships in the outside world. Normally, the lovers will enable us not to lean on others, but to discover self-reliance, to make independent choices and accept responsibility for these choices. This is why the card often plays a role when young people leave the parental house and become independent. They leave their secure environment to become fully responsible for their choices they make. The theme of choosing between some form of safety on one hand and personal independence and taking responsibility for whatever is necessary for growth on the other is a prominent part of the lovers. It is an important mechanism for getting to know ourselves and for developing our ego. If we stagnate in the stage of the lovers, we present a picture of someone who carefully weighs the pros and cons, but does not take any important steps, or at any rate, no steps demanding any great dedication or involvement. Instead of a significant move being made into the outside world with the shouldering of personal responsibility, there is a flight from an existing relatively safe situation into another safe situation so that a real choice is avoided. When we then run the risk of walking straight into the predicament we were trying to avoid and falling into the arms of someone who will take us and break us for the task of pulling their little cart before we know we were where we are. All sorts of problems and entanglements are the result. The fear of involvement with the outside world can also mean that decision taking becomes difficult. There is no feeling for the other person and no ability to take into account the total situation in which others are involved. All that is left is the aim of establishing oneself. At the back of that lies the fear of ever abandoning one's own security, and especially leaving ease and comfort and safety in order to step into life. When the Lover's card works negatively, you keep lingering at the threshold, cautiously poking one foot outside the door and pulling it back in as quickly as possible. Or you first build a new safe shelter into which you step immediately, only to encounter the same old patterns once more. The main problem is the lack of balance in relationships, but this is not the same as adopting the role of victim. For instance, consider someone who within a marriage plays the part of a great protector or protectress and subtly but clearly informs a partner that she or he must stay small and independent. This person finds safety in playing this part, and if he or she cannot be the protector or protectress, feels very insecure. Thus, it doesn't matter what side you stand on, but how much courage you have to swap safely for experiences and confrontations that lead to greater awareness. So I'm curious if you found some parallels with that, with the whole, like, especially the part about poking one foot outside the door, pulling it back in as quickly as possible. First building first build a new safe shelter in which you step immediately, only to encounter the same old patterns once more. All of the stuff that they were talking about, really, just the patterns of, like, whenever with the whole, like, spiritual awakening process, right? Like, so in life, there's that point where you're living completely embedded in the normal societal ways, and everything is like this one way. But then whenever you start looking outside the box and start seeing the bigger picture, and you start coming into your spiritual awakening, and you start trying to live this new life because all the distortions are being taken away. You're starting to see things more clearly. You're just changing. You're morphing into this other person. But the habits and stuff like that, just trying to get out of, like, trying to shape the life you want to live now, sometimes you do find yourself kind of going back into the safety of some of the things, the habits that you were in before, living before. And so, because it feels like, because they're like addictions, it makes you, like, living certain ways sometimes can be like an addiction, and breaking that pattern is like breaking an addiction. So I feel like we have to be gentle with ourselves and forgiving with ourselves whenever we are trying to change, right? And know that we are, as long as we're making progress, if we are making progress, then be proud of yourself. And if you have backslides, if you have like a hard time, like shifting completely into the life that you want to live, that's calling you, that you desire, not to beat ourselves up about it, but just to keep moving forward, one step at a time, and just allowing ourselves to just keep digging in, keep digging your heels in, and don't backslide all the way back into your other life where you weren't happy, where you were closed into a box, right? Just keep digging your heels in and making, like, even if it's like kind of like, now I'm picturing like all this gust of all this wind coming, and you're like trying to, no, I want to be over there, I want to be living that life. But it's so much easier just to like lay on the couch and binge watch Netflix. So you just like sometimes you just let yourself just like, oh, I'm just done, I'm just tired, I just want to like go binge and on food and TV. But anyway, but they're saying that it feels like, just keep going, keep digging your heels in, and just keep, even if you have to crawl for a while, just keep going. All right, so that's the tarot as a new way of life. So that's just an example too of like how this doesn't have to deal with like just like you and other people. It's you and you. It's which I know that's kind of what they were saying too, but it's you and like not just personal relationships, but like your life relationship, your relationship with your life. That makes sense, hopefully. So anyway, so I've been talking about getting this new book, right? And so I was thinking that tomorrow, like either today or tomorrow, we would read from that book. But I did finally get it. And it's called Tarot Revelations, and it's supposed to be like one of the must-haves for, with on this tarot journey. But the thing is that it's not really broken up as much as like there's a whole lot of words. Woo! And you know how my eyeballs like all that. So I'm gonna have to figure out, and they don't offer this on audio, so I'm like, I don't know what to do. But I need somebody to come read it to me. Like we can have an hour a day, keeps the whatever away, migraine away. If you come and read it to me for an hour a day. 45 minutes, half an hour. It won't take too much time out of your day. But no, the thing is so, but they do have some little broken up tiny little bits. So I'm going to go ahead and just read that too. So you get 2 books and one today, like you did the other day. So again, this is the Tarot Revelations. And I paid too much for this. This is probably the most expensive tarot book I've gotten so far, because I do try and get all of my books used to get really good deals, and I try and like get them, I try not spend a ton of money on them, because I know I like multitudes, because like I like to hear a bunch of different voices instead of just relying on one. So but anyway, this one was only available the first time I've seen it, like at that price even. And but see here, like the original price was $10.95. But you want to know how much I paid for this thing? And I feel robbed. But it's not available anywhere else besides these used high prices. But anyway, I paid like $24 for this thing. So that's why somebody needs to come read it to me to make sure I get my money's worth. And you'll get some out of it too. You'll get knowledge too. All right, so let's get to reading. So anyway, this is just a tiny little bit, but I think it does hold some knowledge in it. That's makes it worth it, because we haven't, I don't think in any of these books have tapped into this part of what these cards represent. So the Lovers. Dante in the Convivio assigns to the period of the body's growth the years from birth to 25. His term for the whole period is adolescence. The virtues that he assigns to it are obedience and a sense of shame, comeliness of appearance, and sweetness of conduct. Comeliness of appearance. Convivio 4:24 through 25. In this tarot card, on the other hand, the represented virtue is rather love, which is that celebrated in the poet's telling of his own youth in La Vida Nuova. For indeed, love is the proper concern, the actual and inevitable concern of youth. So the part that I'm saying that is what I'm talking about that hasn't been brought up is that assigning each of these cards different age periods. So like say if this card were to come up, it would be more included in the like the youth, which I guess also actually did come up in that one, but this is very specific around like to the 25 age range. And then because then they talk about it too with the chariot being maturity 25 to 45, and then over here you've got, I think they said it in other places too. I don't know. I don't see it now, but maybe not. Maybe that's just the first of it. The age range stuff. Okay, so the Lovers period of, because I guess it does say birth to 25, so that's birth to 25, and then the Chariot is 25 to 45, so this is the beginning of the age ranges, I guess. So that's it. Okay, so the and then the Justice card here is 45 to 70. Let me see if it goes any further. Yeah, the Hermit is whatever years may remain. So I'm just highlighting the age groups here. Like, so the Lovers card would be, I guess it's the very first in like, if you're looking at like, if it comes up in a reading and then these cards come up, and then so now that we have this bit of knowledge in our brain, then it's like this feeds your intuition to where then that might come up as far as like, okay, so this is talking about because maybe they're talking about something that happened like in this person's 25 and younger age range. Maybe there was a trauma that keeps replaying, like in their relationships going forward, and so this comes up, and then that, now that we have that knowledge in our brain about that, the Lovers is to the age range of about 25, then the Chariot is 25 to 45, and don't worry, the Chariot part we'll read again whenever the next month, but then the Justice card 45 to 70, which apparently now I'm in that range. And then the Hermit is then whatever years remains. So anyway, all of that is feeds into we're feeding that into our wisdom bank, right? And so now that we know that, it may come up in a reading. It may come up into come into play for you, with somebody. If they're having, if something's, it may come up one way or the other. It could come up in all kinds of ways, but now that you know that card can represent that, and like an age range, then that could come up for you. So it's just interesting, like a new little spice to your flavor profile. We're adding a new spice to our flavor profile of our readings is pretty much what it is. I love that. Thank you, Spirit. So just there you go. There's your $25 worth of wisdom. Ooh, I will say that hurt. That one hurt. I normally $7 and under. $11 is a fancy thing for me whenever it comes to pretty much anything. I like to keep it on because I know I like to collect books. I love books, and so I don't want to spend too much on one. I know that sounds awful, but whatever. All right, much love. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow we will dive into all the remaining guidebooks. We don't have a ton left, but there's a few, so we'll read through all the little guidebooks. All right, much love. Mwah.